blessings, family. Welcome back to another edition of Church After Hours. This is episode 23. Season 2 is trucking along. As you see, we got our man Barry Bonds back in the building. Our brother Kurt will be back real soon, moving forward in this season. We had a great two-part episode with our brother Leroy Brown that we're going to talk about before we move into tonight's episode. The first one was called Preach, Brother, Preach. And then the second part of that was called Substance Abuse. Bonds, when you hear brothers like Leroy, who's, a minister in the gospel and preaching the gospel, and you hear him talking about substance abuse, you hear him talking about what it takes for the church to be relevant to young people, what does that make you think of, and what did you think about his time, on Church After Hours this season?
I really enjoyed it. I think that, he's on the road to doing some great things. I know Brother Brown, Brother Leroy, and that's my guy, and I know he's going to, make a change, make a difference. Yeah,
and I feel the same way. I'm proud of what Leroy's doing, and hopefully people got an opportunity to see that you can still be involved with church. You can still, consider yourself a man or woman of God and still be relevant and still be cool. Y'all see Leroy was swagged out. You know what I'm saying? He's very approachable to the youth. And I'm just happy that he came and sat down and talked to us and was able to dig into some substance abuse things, some depression things, because we go through that as well. Those are taboo things that we don't talk about in the church. So salute to that brother. We really appreciated him, coming on and dropping his wisdom. But let's dig into the new favorite topic on the show, and that's church parking lot gossip. We got some good ones this week. The church always gives us golden nuggets that we just gonna, share with y'all. And the first one, we're gonna go to Rome and the Vatican, where Pope Francis admits priests and nuns need to stop watching porn. I didn't realize that this was a problem in the Catholic Church. And then once I started reading up on this, they sent the letter back to him saying that they're not going to stop watching porn. Like they feel like they still should be able to indulge in, pornography because, quote unquote, these people are supposed to be celibate, can't have wives, can't have husbands and whatnot. So talk to me about Pope Francis checking the priests and the nuns in the Catholic Church, telling them to stop watching porn, and they're saying they're not going to do that.
Bro, I'm going to keep it stacked with you. These priests have been watching porn since back in the day. Ain't nothing changed, ain't nothing gonna change. You know what I'm saying? They out here jerking off, they gonna keep doing that. Yeah. They probably jerking off on the Bible, you know what I'm saying? They probably wiping it off with the Bible. So you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing gonna change with them. They out here doing what they do. They probably looking at little girls while they doing it, little boys or how whatever.
Ain't no problem. It's enough evidence to show that they have been messing with little boys. So let's just keep
so we gonna keep it a buck. We gonna keep it a full bean here. Is that those dudes gonna keep watching it and ain't nothing gonna change. But if you think about it though, and follow me on this, it's probably kind of good that they doing it because at least it's abstinence. You know what I'm saying? Because they watching it, but they ain't really doing it in real life. If they can't do it in real life, how you expect somebody to get it out? You got to get it out, bro. You know what I'm saying? When I can't get it out, I get real frustrated and angry. You don't like me when, you know what I'm saying? You got to do it, man. So,
I'm not mad at that.
I ain't mad at them at all, man. Do what y'all do, man.
So yeah, when you look at it, do you rather them pleasure themselves or mess with children or do other things?
I'd rather them jerk until they meat fall off. Okay? Yeah. Just keep jerking, man. It's all good. Don't touch the kids, though.
Barry Bonds is in the building.
Don't touch the kids, though, man. That's B. Bonds saying that. Don't touch the kids.
But I'm very interested to continue to follow this story because I want to see how this continues to go. Because Pope Francis, I won't say he's a lightning rod, but he's one of the most recent popes in history that takes on a lot of top pop culture issues and tries to insert the Catholic Church in those discussions. So I'm interested to see where this conversation ends up going.
Hey, bro, Pope Francis, quote me now on this. Pope Francis played for the other team, bro. I'm gonna keep it real. 1,000. He played for the other team, bro. That's what he do, man. I'm just gonna be honest.
Let's move forward, man. Now this topic hit home because it was a Chicago story, and it was from Reverend Clay Evans, who's a very popular pastor who passed away a few years ago. He was the Chicago legend when Dr. King came to Chicago. Clay Evans, looked out for him, put him up, and made sure he was good. And he was the pastor of Fellowship Baptist Church. And they had a new pastor when Reverend Clay Evans passed, and he went into the music industry, Pastor Jenkins. Now they have a new pastor. And they had this thing, you were like this, Barry. I'm just going to throw you the ultimate alley-oop. they had this thing called the Message and Mimosas, where they was basically having like a Bible study / gathering of young Christians in their church, where they were discussing the word, and they was doing it over some mimosas. And as you can see, this is the flyer that they had out promoting this Message and Mimosas. And people was upset because, again, Fellowship Baptist Church is a historical church in Chicago. Talk to me, Bonds, about the Message and Mimosas that these people at this church was promoting.
Hey, man, y'all gonna hear it first. They set it up so they can get some little play after the Message and Mimosas. They setting up they play for the later on. That's what they doing, man. Come on, you can't get nothing past B Bonds here, man. I see what y'all doing. You're trying to set it up. You get somebody tipsy, and then after, you know what I'm saying, you swing up on them like, hey, sister, how'd you enjoy the message I gave earlier? And you know what? Come on, let's go over here and have a private Bible study. Right. That's what they doing, man. Come on, man. Message and Mimosas.
That's
so
crazy.
What we gonna be doing? We gonna be what we gonna do? We gonna bring some liquor and whatnot to the church and whatnot. And we gonna just sit there and sip and hear Sunday service.
Because we know
what's next?
We know what happens when you start indulging in alcoholic beverages.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like
smash time.
Oh man, that's
why it's important that these guys continue to watch pornography, do what they got to do, so they can do it in their own comforts of their own home, and they don't bring that energy into the church.
And see, here's my issue with that. If you drink or whatever, that's your thing. I'm not here to judge or tell anybody how to live their lives. We know you are.
I am.
But this is the part right here that's cracks me up, because the Bible and church talks about being in this world but not of this world. And I just feel like the church is starting to sell out and trying to be more inclusive with the world versus being set apart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The church are not those peculiar people as they once were. And you can still be peculiar, and you can still not be of the world and not be judgmental and not be self-righteous. But I just feel like they're starting to dance with the world, aka dance with the devil a little bit too much when it comes to the Message and Mimosas. I'm just like, so y'all encouraging champagne and juice to be drank while studying the word, and like it's just not a good look, man. And I understand why a lot of the older saints was upset, because I was on their side. I just think they're going too far, and they got to kind of fall back. You know what I mean?
Gin and juice and Galatians. That's gonna be the next. It's gonna be the next event that they're gonna have. You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny you said gin and juice, because when Snoop and it was out and we was sneaking and listening to that stuff, they were like, y'all listening to that music, and now we got the Message.
Hennessy and Hebrews.
Right. Now
that's
you got
the next Bible study that we have. Bring your Hennessy.
It's
Come
crazy.
on, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Seriously, I get it that they're trying to bring people back to the church, but you don't do it this way.
Absolutely.
And even be honest with you, because I guess we're kind of like the yin and yang. I believe in judgment. I believe you got to judge people, because if you don't judge, then if I'm looking at that snake and I see that snake is one that could, I don't know if it's going to bite me, or I don't know if it's poisonous, and I'm just looking at it, I have to judge. I have to pass judgment on it, or else I might make a mistake on it. You know what I'm saying? Now, when we stop judging, that's when everybody start doing everything else. The number one mantra for these cats that get out here and do all kind of crazy stuff is, oh, only God can judge me. Only God can judge me. Yeah. But you know what? God gave us free will, but then again, he also gave us, laws to follow. So if you don't follow the laws, then it's judgment that needs to be posted against those laws, against those actions. And judgment keeps us in line.
I guess I look at it a tad bit different. I understand your whole meaning of judging each other and keeping each other to a high standard. I look at it as being accountable, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, as my brother, I would expect you to hold me accountable, and you should expect me to hold you accountable, no matter what it is in life that we're doing. If we're not holding up a standard and sticking to a standard that we've established as brothers, then I should be able to say, you know what, Bonds, you tripping. Like, you need to really, knock it off and hold yourself accountable to whatever shortcomings you have in your life at that time. And if that's what you consider judging, then I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's judging, because you're judging my action. You're saying, nah, B, that's not good. You know what I'm saying? So judgment is good. When we stop judging, we stop giving shame, that's when everybody start doing all this crazy stuff that they doing right now.
Yeah. Well, we got one more topic. We go hit in church parking lot gossip, and then we go move on. And that's the world famous St. Louis, Missouri preacher. Her name is Joyce Meyer. Me and Kurt talked about Paula White, and Paula White and Joyce Meyer are probably the two most famous Caucasian evangelists when it comes to black people. Because, back in the day, well, not just back in the day. Today, Sundays, which today is the most segregated day in America.
Exactly.
White folks go to church with each other, black folks go to church with each other. So it wasn't until the 90s when you really started to see kind of blacks and white intersecting in each other's spaces. And Joyce Meyer was one of those ones that black people was really, tapping into. She even, got a large number of congregants that go to her church. And she made a bold statement talking about speaking and preaching against tattoos and how she spoke and preached against tattoos for years, but she changed her mind. And now she has a tattoo and her 70-plus-year-old husband or 80-plus-year-old husband has a tattoo. So when I looked at this story, I'm just like, wow, like she's backtracking. And she even used the scripture, Isaiah 49, chapter 16. And again, I always like to talk a little bit what the verse is in front of the verse and behind it. So if you started just at 14, but Zion said, the Lord hath forsaken me and my Lord hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her sucking child that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? They may forget, yet will not forget thee. Behold, here's the verse 16. This is what she says justifies, Christians getting tattoos. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands and walls and continually before me. So she said that God has tattooed all of his children on his hands, right? Because she didn't use the King. That's the King James Version. I always use the King James Version because I follow OG Geno Jennings when it comes to that. Because these other...
Shout out to OG Geno.
Shout out to OG Geno. Because a lot of these other translations of the Bible is suspect. Let's just keep it 100. And King James is closest to the original translation. So she says in her translation, I forget which one, it was NIV or one of them joints, that God has basically tattooed all of his children on his hands, and therefore we should be able to get tattoos. Talk to me about Joyce Meyer.
So now we about to have holy tramp stamps that they about to start putting on these preachers and everything, man. I mean, what they gonna put? Jesus's on the tattoo? Come on, man. Like, where are we going with this, people? Like, are we seriously out here saying, okay, let's go get some holy tattoos? We're about to have, hey, y'all come to the fellowship hall. We're about to have some holy tattoos. We're about to give out. Come on, man. We got to keep it. I don't understand what's going on with people.
It's going to be a new thing called tattoos and tequila. You know what I'm saying?
Tattoo, exactly.
They drinking tequila, getting tattoos.
Tattoos and tequila. Get your favorite Bible verse, put on your tattoo and whatnot. Yeah, I get it. You know what? I got, even myself, I got, God's son right here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the drunk dude in Mexico who did it, who spelled Jesus' name or God's name wrong. He forgot the capital G. But that's what happens, man, when you out here getting these tattoos, man. God said, and I believe he said that we should not desecrate or denigrate our body. And that's what we should not do. Now a lot of things we do as youngsters, hey, we have to pay for, in the end of the day, we have to, we say, well, maybe that wasn't a good idea. You know what I'm saying? But that's what growth and maturity is for. Growth and maturity. But I really don't know, man. I just hope none of the, the elders in the church is lining up to go get some little tramp stamps. You know what I'm saying? You're too old for that, man. It's too old. That day is past, man.
I encourage y'all to go look at her message because, again, I always try to make sure I'm not just snipping and taking little tidbits. Like I watched her whole sermon on this tattoo issue, and I thought that it was enlightening to a certain degree. But I felt like her message to me, you guys can be the judge for yourself. I felt like her word or her message was a little compromised because you can make an argument for anything that you want to support.
Way compromised.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, man,
you can explain the BS. You know what I'm saying? You can explain the BS away, but man, I'm being honest, man. I guess I'm, I would say the voice of reasoning or the voice of normalcy, and we just need to get it back to where it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Where we wasn't acting so crazy, but I digress.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that ends this week's segment of Church Parking Lot Gossip, and just sitting here looking at all three topics, where the Pope telling people not to in the church not to watch porn, Messages and Mimosas at Fellowship Baptist Church in Chicago, and then Joyce Meyer saying tattoos is okay. I don't know what it looks like to you, but to me it looks like the church is starting to accept some of the things that the world does to try to draw people back. Because me and Kurt talked about several episodes ago, what is it going to take to get people to come back to the church? And when you look at these type of things, these are the type of things that are going to get people to come back, because now things that they may have been judged on in the past are now accepted.
Well, we're going to call this new segment Pandering for Jesus. All right? That's what we're doing. Pandering for Jesus right now, man. Look, just be natural. That's all you got to do. Just act natural. Be natural. Don't go through all these little efforts to try to bring the youth back in. If you're going to bring the youth back into the church, just be real.
Yeah.
Don't be fake. Just be real.
That's real.
That's it.
That was this week's episode of Church Parking Lot Gossip. I have my man B Bonds here, and as y'all know, he was one of our most requested guests and one of the favorites from season 1. And a lot has been going on since season 1, where y'all had the opportunity to see him on both episodes, or 3 episodes he was on last season. So Bonds, man, talk to us. What has been going on, man? And the people have been looking for you. They've been wondering, where is B Bonds at this season? They know you're a part of the team. So talk to us a little bit about what's been going on in your world, man.
Yeah, well, finally moved back to Ohio.
Okay,
so,
that's what's up.
We back in the building. And hopefully, if these guys allow me, I could be back on the segment, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I want Kurt here too, so we can have a round table discussion, because sometimes, most of the times I'm the outlier, but, everything has been good, man. Got a lot of prospects going on right now, employment-wise. God is good. He's blessing. We over at Zion Global right now. Got the whole fam over there. We're looking to do some great things, get with the young men so we can get a young men's, program going to get these brothers in the right way so that they're not making the same mistakes that I made when I was young. Even as an adult, So shout out to that. Shout out to Reverend Pifus. Shout out to Latier. Shout out to everybody over at Zion Global. I heard Lincoln Heights Baptist just got a new minister.
Oh, that's what's up. Salute.
Shout out to them. He's a young dude as well, so hopefully he can bring that old school, that flavor back. You know what I'm saying? The LHMBC. Shout out to them. Yeah. But that's pretty much it, man. My Ohio State Buckeyes just lost yesterday, but. Another year, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, everybody's good. The fam is good. Larry Reed is out here still creating all kind of havoc on these church streets. We're going to get into him, for real, him and who was that? And King Jives. So, man, we just, trying to fight the good fight out here in this crazy, this crazy church atmosphere out here, man.
Well, it's good to have you back home, man. You was in New York, what, 12, 13 years?
Nah, brother. Altogether, I was there almost 20 years.
But the last stint was like 13.
My last tour of duty, as I call it, was, my last bid was like 12 years.
It's good to have you back home, man. The brothers can lock back in. We can, be more present in each other's lives. So I'm happy to have you back, man. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to explain, because in season 1 we talked about when you moved to New York, you became a member of the Nation of Islam, and now you're back home. You with Reverend Pifus, and it seems like, I'll let you tell your story, that you're back Christian. Talk about the conversion to Islam and then how you converted back to Christianity.
Well, I felt that, I did my research, and doing my research, I saw there was like 16 different religions, and, pretty much they all originated the same way. The virgin birth gave birth to the Messiah, and, the Messiah came to save the world. Now, I thought about it real close. I said, you know what? All of these, there's only one God. So if there's only one God, then that means that I'm serving and loving and pledging my life to God, the Father. So
not those religions.
Right. So however he came to be, as far as the son, the prodigal son, the Messiah, I'm serving the God that, that I see, that I talk to. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really, to me, and this is only me, it doesn't really matter what name I put on the religion. You know what I'm saying? As long as I call God, and I revere him and worship him, in goodness and reverence and whatnot to him the same way. So that's pretty much what I had, come to the understanding of. And I said, well, you know what, I got some giving back to do. I took a lot from this, Reverend Pifus and his programs at the church, the youth fellowship that I, was able to experience. It gave a lot to me, and it basically saved me from going the wrong way. I made all my friends in the church, and, was able to have such a great time, and which came out to be a beautiful childhood. And I wanted to give back. So that's why I said, you know what, let me go ahead and, get back into Zion, get my family back into Zion, and help Reverend Pipus, get these youth back in the church.
That's dope, and I think it's dope on so many levels. But the main thing and you just mentioned on it, I want to go a little bit deeper. You have a son, who's 10 years old,
right?
And being that example for him seeing you in that light of not only just being dad and being a husband, but being a youth leader, working with other youth. My sons are 17 and 15, and recently they've talked about how they always appreciated me working with other children and not just being about them,
right?
Because it helps make the community stronger. Dig a little bit deeper and why it's important for you to work with youth, and why it's important for you to be that example for your son, for him to see you working in that capacity.
Yeah, well, I've been able to, in my years being up in New York, I wanted to do this, but New York is just so spread out. It's hard to build good relationships up in New York. Everything seems to be, like transactional up there. So I would see you guys on Facebook and other social media, working with the youth, you working with the youth of a driving park. Yeah. And I was like, wow, man, I really want to get into that and dig into that. And, up there it was just us. Yeah. So, as far as the pandemic's concerned, it pretty much shut the church that we were going to down, So I just said, when I get back to Ohio, I'm going to make a difference. I'm coming to make a difference. That's when I said, you know what, first things first, we're getting back into church. And into that, we're going to connect. I'm going to connect with the youth, and we're going to create some youth programs for young boys. Yeah. Because, young girls are taken care of right now. No slight to the young girls, but, there's 500,000, programs for them, but not really enough programs for the young boys. So I want to keep these young boys from, having to fall in the pitfalls that I, slipped and fell into, and all the mistakes that I made. If I can at least keep at least 10 of them, 10 or 20 of them from going the same way, then I feel like, hey, you know what? I paid my dues back for what I was able to gain from the experience.
Wow, that's dope. We're going to get ready and wrap this one up. We got the message, we got a Sinners and Saints story. But before we get to those last two segments, one thing I want to mention, and I think that is so important, what Barry just touched on, is you see this podcast and how it was birthed, and the things that birthed it is those relationships that we had with our youth leaders, with our youth pastors, and with people that invested back into us. And me personally, I feel like a true person, and the telltale of their life is how they treat other people and how they give back. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's now here doing that, I look at the work that I'm doing now, it's like we were trained and we were geared towards where we are in life now with those great leaders and those great mentors that we had in our life early on to help equip us to be able to be effective young leaders and effective, people in our communities and great pillars in our community. And I just forever indebted to those people, to the Miss Juanitas and the Reverend Pipuses and the Mikes and the Troys. Yeah. These names that you've heard, over the seasons, over these 2 seasons, like we're in this position we're in because of people like them, as well as our parents and others. But Sinners and Saints time. Man, you got a Sinners and Saints or a Holy Hustle? What we doing, man?
No, I got a Sinners and Saints, man.
All right, let's go. Bond, this is what the people came for. We're going to give y'all what they want. What the OJ say, we got to give the people what they want. Let's go.
Now, you know what? I'm going to keep to this whole thing that the Pope was talking about on why you should, probably, and I would say why you need to, maybe indulge in just a little bit of porn just to keep you okay, just to keep your sexual, urges from getting out of hand. Because back in the day, mine was way out of hand, right? So back in the day, I was at the church one night, and I was somewhat of a little ladies' man. Kurt, you could probably put in the edit and whatnot the little thoughts coming from my head and everything. But I thought I was a little ladies' man. I thought I was a little Denzel, whatever, around the church. And it was a young lady there that was really feeling Bond. So it was like, all right, cool, And during church, and I hate to admit this, young fellas, this is a cautionary tale that you guys, learn through me, okay? Not to do this, but we would be in church. She would be in the front row sitting with her mom. I would be probably somewhere sitting in the balcony cutting up, how I do. She would look back and she would give me the eye like this. So I knew what that means. You know what I'm saying? I knew what it means. So we would meet downstairs, right? Now, back in the day, I had this brown Celica. And this brown Celica, we call it the what? The brown Hornet. So, we would meet downstairs, but I knew what that meant. So whenever somebody do that, just ignore it. All right, fellas, just ignore it. But we would go downstairs, we'd jump in the whip and whatnot, and I'd drive down the street, and we would park on this, go down the street, and we would do, some explicit things. I'm not gonna really get into detail, but one day we did that, and I couldn't find a place to duck off to, so I parked on this hill. So we in there, we, doing some explicit things we shouldn't have been doing, all right, at the time. And all of a sudden, her foot kicks the lever, kicks the shift.
Because it was a stick shift.
And puts it into neutral. So we start flying down this hill like crazy. We just going down the hill.
If y'all from Lincoln Heights, y'all know the exact hill he's talking about.
Oh man, I was so scared because my pants was down, hers was down. And I'm sitting there trying to get to the gear shift. She's, oh my God, it was crazy. I thought we was going to die, but, God was speaking to us saying that this is not what y'all supposed to do.
Right.
So that's pretty much how it ended out, where I was able to get to the gear shift and press the brake and everything. But yeah, for a minute there, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I thought it was a wrap. I thought we was going to find us there dead, what I'm saying? Pants down, all that, looking crazy. We should have been in church. So let that be a lesson to you guys, man. Stay in church. Don't be dipping out to do no silly stuff, all right?
Don't be doing no
cautionary tale.
Mimosas and a message.
Yeah, exactly. That's what mimosas and message, that's what it gets you.
Right,
that's where it leads. It's a gateway to that, all right? So
man.
Stay straight, y'all.
Another classic B-Bonds, Sinners and Saints / Holy Hustle story, man. Listen, we've come to the end. Bonds will be back real soon. Y'all go definitely see him more as we finish out season 2. But I just want to close us out with the message, and I'll let Barry, talk about what he think this proverb means to him, and we go get out y'all way. This is a Native American proverb, and I thought it was only fitting because we just celebrated, quote unquote, I call it Thanksgiving Day, but we ain't gonna have that
Thanksgiving.
But I want to always pay homage and respect to the natives of this country, our people. And this is a Hoppy quote, and it says, "Don't be afraid to cry. It will free your mind of sorrowful thoughts." And it made me think about it being wintertime, or as we come into the winter, leaving the fall, seasonals is changing. You look at Thanksgiving, going into Christmas and New Year's, and around this time of year, a lot of people get depressed. They miss their loved ones. They miss, children that they may have, moved to different cities and they don't have a chance to see them. And the suicide rate in this country is really high around this time. And this quote made me think about that. What does that quote mean to you?
Well, it means tapping into your emotional self. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Too many times us as men, we think that we can't tap into our emotional self. We got to be hard. We got to be stoic. And that's not the way to go. If you feel it, if you feel your emotions, feel them. Feel those feels, as they say. Feel your feelings. Let those feelings go, because if you repress them, then trust me, it's going to come out in a way that you probably wouldn't want it to. Either in anger and rage, or just like we saw over the past weekend with that guy from Walmart. Yeah. He didn't feel his feels, or talk to somebody about his feelings. And he ended up shooting and killing 6 people. Yeah. So if you don't feel your feels and at least, acknowledge your feelings and address them, then you'll end up like that. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to end up like that. All right? So that's pretty much. And
it's funny you say that, because anytime you cry, whether it's tears of joy or tears of sadness, you always seem to feel better after you get it out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a burden, a release that you have gotten out. And I think that's something that, especially like you said, us as black men, especially, Leroy talked about that a little bit on the last few episodes, letting that stuff out, not holding it up and keeping it pinned in, because you have that release, you feel better, you move forward, and now you can move in a better position in life. So this was episode 23. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and we out of here. We'll see y'all next week. Church After Hours.
Peace.